Most people wake up each day and quietly surrender not to failure, but to ease. They don't even realize it. You see, the human mind is a brilliant machine, capable of mountains, yet content with molehills unless we train it otherwise. And the tragedy, not that people aim too high and miss, but that they aim too low and hit every single day. My question for you is simple. When did you last demand more from yourself than the world ever dared to ask? Winners don't wake up and ask, should I do it today? They've already decided. That's the difference. The average man consults his feelings before he consults his goals. He asks his mood how the day should go. But winners, they make the decision once, and they live by it daily. No room for second thoughts. You see, if you leave the door open for negotiation, your mind will always try to bargain you out of doing what's necessary. And every time you hesitate, you hand your power over to procrastination. There was a time I used to live like that. I waited for the mood, the spark, the perfect alignment of energy and opportunity. And do you know what happened? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. My bank account was empty, my calendar was full of empty hours, and my life was a reflection of indecision. Then one day, I realized that success is not something you pursue when you feel like it, it's something you commit to, whether you feel like it or not. Let me give you a simple example. A man says, I'll start saving money next month, or I'll begin my business plan when things settle down. But the truth is, life never settles down. It only gets more complicated. So the man who waits ends up never starting. But the man who decides, who draws the line and says, from this day forward, I will act differently, he begins to change his life. Not someday, but today. And it begins with a single firm decision. You don't need 100 decisions. You need one. A decision so strong that it silences the excuses before they have a chance to speak. That's how you build wealth, build strength, build a future. The man who decides once doesn't need willpower every morning. He lives by principle, not preference. The moment you remove negotiation, you remove hesitation. And once hesitation is gone, momentum takes its place. Most people are looking for the next big moment, the breakthrough, the lucky strike, the sudden rise. But the truth is, success doesn't come in waves of inspiration. It comes in the quiet repetition of daily discipline. It's not what you do once in a while that changes your life. It's what you do every single day, especially when no one's clapping and no one's watching. The daily grind, that's where winners are made. I remember a young man who came up to me after a seminar. He said, I've been trying to make something happen, but it's not working. I asked him, what have you been doing daily? He paused. Well, I worked really hard last weekend. That's the mistake. A weekend of effort cannot make up for a month of neglect. The soil does not care how passionately you planted the seed. One day it responds only to consistent watering, consistent care, consistent tending. That's the law. When I first started to turn my life around, I didn't do anything extraordinary. I simply decided to master the ordinary. I read every day. I saved every week. I called people consistently. I practiced my presentations over and over again. And slowly, little by little, things started to move, not in fireworks, but in inches. That's the way progress works. It hides itself in the mundane. But if you stay with it, One day you'll look back and realize you've moved miles. The problem is most people treat their goals like a hobby. They give it energy when they're excited. But winners, they treat their goals like a job. They show up whether they feel like it or not. They know that repetition is the mother of skill and that excellence is built on boring days. You want wealth? Then fall in love with the grind. Learn to appreciate the process. Because while others are waiting for the perfect time to sprint, winners are building brick by brick, one disciplined day at a time. Comfort is a beautiful lie. It whispers promises of ease and rest. But underneath, it is the silent thief of progress. You see, growth never happens in the soft, warm bed of comfort. It happens on the edge of discomfort, where your body resists and your mind protests. Every step beyond what feels easy is a step toward becoming stronger, wiser, and more capable. When I was younger, I sought comfort like many others. I avoided hard conversations. I shied away from challenges. And I convinced myself that stability was success. But life has a way of teaching you the truth if you're willing to listen. Nothing valuable ever grows in the soil of ease. The tallest trees, the sharpest minds, the most successful lives, they are all forged in struggle. There was a farmer I knew who, year after year, chose to plant his crops on the rocky soil instead of the fertile plains nearby. People called him foolish, but he understood that the rocky soil forced the roots deeper, made the plants tougher, and in time produced a harvest that outlasted the easier fields. That's the lesson when you lean into discomfort. You build resilience that no comfort can ever give. You must learn to welcome difficulty. If a task scares you, do it. If it challenges you, embrace it. If it feels uncomfortable, it means you're on the right path. The ancient philosophers spoke of voluntary hardship, the idea that choosing to endure struggle is the path to mastery. This is not about suffering for suffering's sake, but about recognizing that each uncomfortable moment is an investment in your future strength. Motivation is a fleeting feeling, like the morning sun that shines brightly but disappears by noon. Many wait for that burst of energy, that spark of inspiration, before taking a single step. But the truth is, motivation often follows action, not the other way around. You cannot wait to feel ready. You must become ready by doing. I recall a time early in my career when I struggled to find motivation to work long hours or face the obstacles ahead. I told myself, if only I felt inspired, if only I had that drive. But the moment I forced myself to start, whether it was making a call, writing a page, or simply showing up, the energy came. Action became the fuel that ignited motivation. It was never about waiting for the perfect mood or the perfect moment. Think about the hardest part of any task. It's not the middle or the end. It's the beginning. The mind resists starting because it fears discomfort or failure. But once you push through that initial barrier, momentum builds. Like a heavy wagon, once it gets moving, it requires less effort to keep going. Great philosophers before us taught that willpower is strengthened through habit. It's the repeated choice to act, regardless of feeling, that builds character and achievement. When you act first, you tell your subconscious mind that your commitment is real. Over time, action creates its own motivation and the cycle becomes unstoppable. If you wait for motivation, you wait forever. Winners understand this truth. They start before they feel ready. And in doing so, they make motivation a byproduct of their commitment. So don't wait, move first, and let motivation chase after you. Most people settle for what's easy, what's comfortable, what the world expects of them. They live by the standard of good enough, convincing themselves that average effort will carry them through. But winners know better. They set standards so high that even their worst day outshines the best efforts of others. It's not about arrogance, it's about self-respect and vision. Early in my journey, I worked alongside men who believed that punching the clock was enough, that doing the bare minimum would get them by. I watched as they remained stuck year after year, while those who raised their own bar moved steadily ahead. You see, the world measures you by what you accept from yourself. If you accept mediocrity, that's exactly what you get. A great mentor once told me, "You cannot expect to live a new kind of life unless you're willing to change your standards." The moment you raise your expectations, you change the trajectory of your life. Instead of reacting to what's comfortable, you start creating a vision of what's possible. Your daily choices begin to reflect that higher standard. Think about the great athletes, the artists, the entrepreneurs who dominate their fields. They don't just do what is required, they demand more from themselves when no one else is watching. They study harder, practice longer, and refuse to settle. Their success is not a matter of luck, but the result of consistent, elevated standards. If you want to push yourself every day like winners do, begin by raising the bar for your own life. Set a standard so high that it pushes you beyond your comfort zone, challenges your limits, and calls forth your best effort every single day. Because only when you demand more from yourself will you receive more from life. Discipline is not a punishment. It is the highest form of self-respect. When you choose discipline, you are telling yourself that your goals, your dreams, and your future are worth more than momentary comfort or fleeting pleasure. It's the quiet promise you make to yourself that no matter how you feel, no matter what distractions come your way, you will remain true to your commitments. I've seen men who struggled not because they lacked opportunity, but because they lacked discipline. They had talent, intelligence, even good intentions, but without discipline, those qualities were wasted. Discipline is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. It's the framework that holds everything else together. Think of it like tending a garden. Without regular care, watering, weeding, nurturing, the garden will wither. The same goes for your life. Discipline is the steady hand that cultivates your character, sharpens your skills, and builds your reputation. It's the daily decisions to do what must be done, even when you don't want to do it. Great thinkers from ancient times understood this well. Seneca said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." True freedom comes from discipline, the freedom to direct your life rather than be led by impulses and excuses. If you want to push yourself every day like winners do, embrace discipline as a gift to yourself. Treat it as a sacred act of self-love and self-mastery, for it is through discipline that you build the foundation of a life well lived. Now, listen closely. Pushing yourself every day like winners do is not some distant ideal reserved for a select few. It is a choice, a commitment you make to yourself right now. It's deciding that your life will no longer be dictated by excuses, by hesitation, or by fleeting feeling. It's choosing to stand firm when the mind whispers enough and responding instead with not yet. Remember, success is not a sudden event, but the result of countless small decisions to rise above comfort, to act before motivation, to hold yourself to a higher standard, and to cultivate discipline. Every time you push through resistance, you are strengthening the foundation of your future. Every moment you refuse to negotiate with yourself, you move closer to the life you deserve. So, ask yourself today, are you ready to stop waiting? Are you ready to stop negotiating with your own potential? The path is clear. Commit to pushing yourself daily. Build the habits that winners live by. Start now. With one small step, one firm decision, one moment of discipline, your future is waiting not for chance, but for your consistent effort. Don't wait for the perfect day. Make today the day you decide to push yourself like a winner, and watch how your life changes.